Just a reminder, The Last Laugh by Robinson Ocharo. Act 2, Scene 1. Characters. Orwa, the owner of Orwa's farm. We have Tai, his wife, Kola, his daughter, and then Oka, their son. Synopsis. This particular scene takes place in Orwa's home, that is in the morning, in a well-furnished modern room. It begins by Orwa, and as we can see, the Orwa is very angry. You remember how scene 2 act 1 ended? It ended by Oka releasing the workers. And now Orwa knows that Oka released the workers, so he is very angry. He calls the wife and asks the wife to go and call the troublemaker. The wife calls Kola, and then Orwa tells the wife to go call Oka. Oka is the one who is now the troublemaker. When Oka comes in, we can see the argument between the father and the son. The father tries to explain to Oka why what he did was wrong, and Oka tries to explain to the father why he thinks what he did is the correct thing and why the worker deserves to have their freedom. Now this argument goes on until the end of the scene. So basically the scene is taking place in a home, and the characters, the main characters in this particular scene is Orwa and Oka, who are arguing, have an argument about the workers. We go to themes. Number 1 theme is wealth. We can get that through the description that you've been given at the beginning of the scene, where it is said that they are in a well-furnished modern room. Of course, that shows that these people are wealthy. Our number 2 theme is theme of violence. We get that on page 13, where Tai is saying they have vowed that nothing is going to take what their sweat can bear. I fear they might turn violent just like the other workers on other farms. So Tai is reading a letter that Oka wrote, and through this letter we can tell that there is violence in that particular community between the workers and their bosses, and so Oka feared that they might turn violent just like the others. That is why he decided to release them. We have another theme, which is the theme of patriarchy. We get that on page 14, where it is said, "For heaven's sake, do not take us back to when sons used to order their fathers. Will you tell me straight away the reason why you?" Now, in this particular words, we can tell that Orwa believes that in this particular era they are living, fathers are in control of their families. So they control their wives and their children, and that is what we call patriarchy, where it is believed that the father is the head of the family. Yes. Then we have poor governance. We get poor governance in page 16. Oka is saying, "Do not forget that social security and leisure are higher priorities than the old rags and the rusty container we provide for them." That is what Orwa is providing for the workers, and that shows poor governance. He does not take good care of the people he is leading. Then lastly, we have the theme of nepotism. We still find it on page 16, where Oka says, "Which doctor? Your nephew? My cousin, who only walks inside the rusty old container, looks at the patient, asks them to eat a healthy diet, and walks out." So that shows there is nepotism. Nepotism is where someone employs the relative regardless of their qualification. So in this case, you realize that Orwa employed the nephew to work as the doctor in the farm. I go straight to stylistic device, and number 1 stylistic device is rhetorical question. Rhetorical question is found in very many places in this particular scene, because so many questions have been asked and have not been answered. Number 2, we have ellipsis. Ellipsis is found on page 11 at the top here. You cannot see, but I believe you have the book, you will see, where it is said, "So I must teach him a lesson. He must eat from the bitter pot." Oh, then he keeps quiet. It means there are some words he wanted to say, but he chose to keep quiet. So these particular dots shows that there are some missing words which the character did not speak out, and so that is ellipsis. Then we have biblical allusion. Biblical allusion is whereby Robinson Ocharo decided to use some reference from the Bible. For example, in page 11, he says that, I'm sorry, not page 11, let me find it. On page 15, where Orwa says, let him continue. Maybe he is the Solomon of today. You never know. Okay, teach us your wisdom. According to these particular words, we know that Solomon's story is found in the Bible, and he had wisdom. And also, just on the same page, Orwa says, that is philosophy. I am a philosopher myself, and in Orwa's farm there is no such thing that there shall be, and there shall be no such thing. Well, that is good. A rebellious teacher sprouting out foolishness. I told you wisdom never died with Solomon. That is also a biblical allusion. I go straight to character traits, and number 1, I say Orwa is short-tempered. Now, we can see that from how he's behaving when he's having a conversation with Oka. He gets so angry. He gets so angry because he believes he is right, and so that makes him a short-tempered person. Then number 2, we say Orwa is sarcastic, and we say he is sarcastic because of how he talks to Orwa. He tells, in brackets, sarcastically on page 15, that is philosophy. I am a philosopher myself, and in Orwa's farm, in Orwa's home, he's using these particular words to mock Oka. You know, sarcasm is whereby you mock someone indirectly. So he's using these particular words to mock Oka indirectly. That makes him a sarcastic person. I go to Oka, and I can say that Oka is courageous. Depending on how he's addressing the father, putting out his points, it makes him a very courageous man, depending on how Orwa has been described earlier on. You remember Mariko telling him on page 8 that no, your cruel father will disown you or do something worse, but he has the courage to face the father and tell him the truth. We also say that Oka is brave, depending on how he's putting out his points. Oka is arranging his points like a brave person, so that makes him very brave. We also say that Oka is caring, on how he's presenting his points about the workers. That makes him very caring. So that marks the end of this particular scene. See you in our next episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment.